In every corner of the world, millions of people carry dreams quietly in their hearts. Dreams of freedom, success, financial stability, and a better life for themselves and their families. These dreams give people hope. They give people something to look forward to. Yet, for most people, these dreams never become reality. They fade away long before they even begin. Why does this happen? The reason is surprisingly simple. Many people spend their entire lives waiting. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect amount of money before they begin. They believe success requires ideal conditions, but the truth is very different. The perfect moment rarely arrives, and sometimes the only difference between success and failure is the courage to begin with whatever you already have. Let me share a story that illustrates this idea. In a crowded and fast-moving city, there lived a young man named James. He was 28 years old and worked long hours in a small factory. His job was exhausting, and the pay was barely enough to cover his basic needs. At the end of every month, after paying rent and buying food, there was almost nothing left in his pocket. His life felt stuck. Often, his friends would tease him half-jokingly. They would say, "James, you work harder than anyone we know, yet your life never changes. When will things finally improve for you?" James would smile politely, but deep down those words hurt. The truth was that he had asked himself the same question many times. One evening, while walking home from work, something caught his attention. Near a busy street corner, an elderly man was selling fresh fruit juice from a small cart. The cart was simple and old, but there was a long line of customers waiting. Curious, James stopped and bought a glass. The juice tasted incredibly fresh and natural, much better than the drinks sold in large stores. While enjoying the drink, James asked the old man, "How long have you been doing this?" The old man smiled warmly and replied, "Almost 15 years, my son. This little cart has taken care of my family all these years." James nodded thoughtfully and continued his walk home, but that conversation stayed in his mind. That night, he couldn't stop thinking. If a man with such a small setup could support his family and still smile every day, then why was he so afraid to try something of his own? But immediately another voice appeared in his mind. "What business could you start? You have no money, you have no experience. What if you fail?" These thoughts circled in his head for hours. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered something simple yet powerful. Just try. The next morning, James made a decision. He would stop waiting and start something, no matter how small. The only problem was that he had very little money. In fact, his total savings were just $200. It was far from enough for a large business. So instead of dreaming big immediately, he began observing the world around him. For several days, he carefully watched the habits of people in his neighborhood. He noticed something interesting. Every morning, many office workers rushed to their jobs without eating a proper breakfast. Street vendors sold cheap food, but it was usually oily and unhealthy. On the other hand, cafes sold healthier options, but the prices were too high for many people. There was clearly a gap between healthy and affordable food. James began thinking about possible solutions. Then suddenly, he remembered something from his childhood. His mother used to prepare homemade energy bars made from oats, honey, nuts, and dried fruits. They were simple, nutritious, and easy to carry. That memory sparked an idea. James decided he would make and sell healthy energy bars. Using his $200, he purchased basic ingredients and simple packaging materials. Every evening after returning from the factory, he worked in his small kitchen preparing the bars by hand. His first batch contained only 50 bars. Early the next morning, before heading to work, he visited nearby offices and small cafes, offering free samples. Many people ignored him. Some didn't even bother listening. Rejection after rejection followed, but James refused to quit. After 2 weeks of trying, a small coffee shop owner finally tasted one of his bars. After a moment, the owner nodded and said, "This is actually very good. Leave 20 bars here. If customers like them, I'll order more." For the first time, James felt real hope. Within 3 days, all 20 bars were sold. The shop owner called him again and ordered 50 more. That small success changed everything. One shop became 3, then 5. Soon 15 different stores were selling his bars. Of course, the journey wasn't easy. There were many problems along the way. Sometimes ingredients ran out unexpectedly. Sometimes packaging failed. Once he ruined an entire batch by making a mistake in the recipe. Each mistake cost him money, but each failure also taught him something new. He slowly learned about managing supplies, negotiating with vendors, and maintaining product quality. After 6 months of hard work, something remarkable happened. The profit from his small business became equal to his factory salary. Now he faced a difficult decision. Should he stay safe with his job or take a risk and focus fully on his business? After thinking deeply, James chose courage. He left the factory and rented a small workspace where he could increase production. He hired 2 helpers and invested in better equipment. His business continued growing. Within 1 year, his energy bars were being sold in more than 100 locations across the city. What started in a tiny kitchen had become a real company. But success did not change James's character. He never forgot where he started. Remembering his struggles, he began helping young people from poor backgrounds learn the same business model so they could start small ventures of their own. 3 years after beginning with only $200, James owned a successful food brand. He employed 15 people and earned more than he had ever imagined. Yet the most valuable thing he gained was not money. It was confidence. It was knowledge. And most importantly, it was the proof that a person's life can change the moment they decide to take action. There are several powerful lessons in James's story. First, you do not need a huge amount of money to start. You simply need an idea that solves a real problem. Second, rejection and failure are not enemies. They are teachers that guide you toward improvement. Third, success rarely happens overnight. It grows slowly through patience, consistency, and determination. And finally, the greatest risk in life is not failure. The greatest risk is never trying at all. So if there's a dream quietly waiting inside your heart, do not allow fear to destroy it. Start small. Start today. Start with whatever you already have. Because in the end, the difference between successful people and those who remain stuck is rarely talent or luck. More often, it is simply this: successful people begin while others are still waiting. Your journey can begin today with just one small step.